In 1000 feet, use the right 2 lanes to keep right.
Hey everyone, I hope you're ready to prepare to go there, because I am. There is so much awesome lessons to learn and to get into, and so we're gonna make this fast and fun. My name is Peter. Welcome to Prepare to Go There, one of the most mission critical conversations that you and I can be a part of on the internet today. And that's my opinion, but I'm just convinced that our future deserves our focus. And so that's why I am blown away and inspired by so many of you in the Future Friends who are leading yourself, and you're not quitting, you're not forgetting the things that are important, the things that are possible. We're going to have an awesome time talking about delegation, but before that, I just want to open up with some opening comments. This is live stream number 94. We are so close to the 100th live stream. I want to make sure that you're a part of it. There's going to be some big announcements, and we're celebrating with another future focused leader mastermind. And so we'll be talking about that later on as well. But it's another day to prepare. It's another day to keep putting in the necessary and unnoticed preparation work. And when we do that, we're actually investing in the future. So welcome to the future frontier. You know, it's my observation that most people don't know how to lead others into a better future because they don't know how to lead themselves there first. Like, I'm happy that you have a big vision, but have you been able to clarify that big vision all the way down to the one person version of it? And when you know the one person version of that big vision, and then you begin to live it out, you begin to lead yourself into that bright, brave future, then other people get an idea, they understand it, and they want to be a part of it too. And I've kind of found that that's not always the case, that for whatever reason, people have this like different approach to leadership, and they think that they're just going to tell people where to go, what to do, when they don't know where they're going or what they're doing in the first place. That's not a hit. That's not a dig. That's not a jab. That is a call to action for those of us who want to go the distance and make a difference. It's for us to model self-leadership, to model servant leadership, and hopefully we will level up into generational leadership one day. And it really is powerful when you can tell yourself no, when you can remember what's important, when you can figure out the path to get into a better future. People will appreciate you. They may not understand you at first, but if you just keep putting in the work day by day, and you keep going in the same direction over a few decades, I promise you the ROIs are going to blow you away. And so that's why we have made a commitment to journey together through a few conversations a week. And it's our way of just keeping the future on the front burner. It's our way of saying this matters. We got to be talking about it. And the more we talk about self-leadership, the better we can think about the future, because no one's going to be pioneering the future for us. We're going to have to take initiative. We're going to have to jump over intimidation, and we're going to have to just go for it. And so that's what we're doing every day. We're showing up to figure out how do you lead yourself, and how do you tactically, practically stay focused on your future. And so we talk a lot about self-leadership and productivity and worldview. And today's really cool because we're talking about teams. We're talking about how we delegate well, and how would our approach to delegation actually multiply the reach or the revenue of our teams, our organizations. So we actually have a big influence and a big impact on the way we work together. And so that's why we want to talk about it. And that's why I want you to join this conversation as well. If this interests you, be listening to the Future Friends plug at the end. I want to invite you to be a part of our email community. I'll tell you more about it later. But again, delegation. How do you feel about delegation? Have you been in a situation where you got to delegate? Have you been in a situation where it worked well? Or did you fall into a ditch somewhere? I've been in the ditch before, but I believe that delegation is so important and so powerful that we can keep going, keep growing. And here's why delegation matters. You want to take your idea all the way to implementation. You know, a big idea really can become a bold identity. And when a leader or when a team has a big idea, they identify with it and they figure out, how do we make this happen? How do we take this to market? How do we spread this idea to other people? And if you want to do everything yourself, it may take you like a few hundred years. But if you want to harness the power of collective creativity and productivity, then you can get way more accomplished. And so that's why we want to figure out, how do we delegate well? How do we delegate um, sanely, humanely? How do we do it with some empathy? Because we always want to be thinking about others in this equation. And so here's kind of a quote that I've been referring back to this week. Comes from the military, the SEALs. They would, say this. They say, "Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." I mentioned the two skill sets that you're going to need to grow to delegate well at a basic kind of primal level is patience and decisiveness. I mean, if you're just trying to get an easy shortcut, then you're going to easily cut yourself short from all of the potential that comes with this, because there is no quick fix for delegation unless you just have all this money and you don't care who or what the end result looks like. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can spend a lot of money, and that's outsourcing. But that's different than developing a team and having people that are going after shared goals, shared mission with you. And so it takes time to learn a process. It takes time to fine tune it and document it well. It's going to take time to identify people who want to join you and do the work, that have the right skill sets and mindsets. It's going to take time to onboard and train. It's going to take time to implement it, track it. Bottom line, you're going to have patience. And whenever we think of delegation, we kind of think that this is our, our fast pass, or this is our shortcut, that, okay, we become impatient. We need it now. We didn't think ahead. We didn't do the preparation. Now we're in a jam. So let's just dump this on somebody else and they will get it done for us. And actually, delegation is the byproduct of a more thoughtful and patient approach. You're going to have to be willing to delegate intentionally, not just retroactively. You, just like a good architect, you're designing your team with this skill set in mind. You're thinking, how would we be a healthy, effective, successful, scaling, whatever team thing? And in order to do that, we're going to need to integrate some good habits that help us delegate effectively and even safely. And I say that because so many people get burned by bad delegation practices. So many people get hurt, or they get offended, or they get kind of the wrong idea. And delegation is actually an empowering practice that we can experience and that we can share with those on our team or in our organization, our community. However, so you got to be patient with this process. You also have to be very decisive. And part of the patience is figuring out what the system's going to look like, figuring out who can do this really well. And it's better to wait a little bit longer than you may feel like it. Wait a little bit longer because it'd be far worse to bring in or bring on the wrong person with the wrong attitude and the wrong skill sets. You really want it to be a good fit. And as you grow in delegation, it becomes less about making decisions about the projects or even the processes. And it becomes more and more about making decisions about the people. Do you have quality people? Do you have competent, creative people? Like, you don't want to delegate to someone to do a creative project if they haven't already been creative. We're not talking about potential right now. We're not looking for people with potential. We're looking for people who have proven that they have done this kind of work or they've done this and more. And we don't have time to get all this territory developed or kind of pioneered. And so we're going to add to the team so that way we can expand our reach, our range for others. My wife, Sarah Joy, is a boss and she's amazing. She has a great just background in leadership, management, all things teams. And she's actually going to be on Prepare to Go There tomorrow, so don't miss it. And we're going to be talking about delegation and hopefully hearing some fun stories from her as well. So I'm super thankful that she can chime in today. But we're going to be going into kind of the last iteration, the last level in this week's conversation. And we've talked about, don't delegate your development. Don't delegate your ideas. Don't delegate the details, right? Each one of those represent a specific checkpoint in your leadership journey. It represents kind of these, I just think of like leadership unlocked, new strategies unlocked. Every time you get to these checkpoints, you get some new capability or some sort of new opportunity kind of unlocked at that level. And so today we're talking about don't delegate alone. This is amazing. This is where your dream has taken off the runway and you are flying. I mean, you are just soaring to that intended destination. And a lot of people don't get to this point. And I want to encourage you, you don't have to have a team or a big organization to be talking about this yet. This is going to take time to kind of decode. And I want you to be thinking about this intentionally so that way, even while you prepare, even while maybe you're at college or maybe you're an intern in a business or some sort of nonprofit, you can be learning, you can be thinking, you can be observing how this works. You're getting good examples and bad examples, and you're just kind of quietly curating all of these strategies and best practices because you realize you're going to have to implement this stuff when it's time to step up. And so I do want to kind of recap just a bit before we get into don't delegate alone, because I feel like this is, almost like a big tournament where you have to take on the opponent at hand and then you can advance to the next round. And so kind of the first level we described was don't delegate your development. That maybe you're just getting started and there's a lot that you just don't feel comfortable doing, or you just don't want to do it. And the truth is, there might just be some laziness that needs to get called out. And that's okay, because you're actually on a learning curve, a learning path that's going to help you prepare and get promoted at the same time. You don't want to just prepare and then you never get promoted. And you definitely don't want to get promoted before you're prepared. So learning helps you keep up with both ends of that process. And so there's things that we do that aren't connected to what we're ultimately going to do. It may not be our ultimate career. It might not really be our life's work, but it is valuable for our own character, our own leadership development. You're learning people skills, you're learning self-leadership, you're learning just the basics that are going to set you apart. Um, Learning and finding the work that works on you. And a lot of people feel allergic to stuff that people don't notice, or that's below, seemingly below them. But when you have the right attitude and you realize, hey, this doesn't stain my reputation to do something outside of my wheelhouse, I'm actually going to expand my skill set. I'm going to add new experiences, new tools to my leadership toolbox, and I'm going to take advantage of every opportunity I can. And eventually I'll be able to delegate well. So don't try to escape the things that are actually preparing you to be a great leader. Then you kind of level up and it's time to involve other people in your tasks and in your projects. And you realize that you know your punch list is only getting bigger. And so you realize, to maximize your time, you're going to have to categorize things by priority and figure out what's really important versus what just feels important. And this is good. This is helpful. But you want to delegate effectively. And so when you involve people, maybe it's for a specific task, maybe it's for a few hours a week, maybe it's on a volunteer basis, an intern basis, maybe you're in ministry, or maybe you're starting a business, or whatever the case may be. Take advantage of those opportunities, because you're going to learn valuable lessons. And one of the easiest and fastest strategies I can give you is learn how to delegate the right way. And what I mean by that is in writing. Like, don't just default to verbal delegation, verbal communication, where you just tell people what's up and then you expect that it's going to come back amazing. Don't do that. You can't just spout out your idea and think that they saw or see the same thing that you did when you were talking about it. You have to make sure that you were clear, that you were concise, and that you didn't take all of their time talking about the idea, but you just gave just enough to take action on the task and move on. So one way to really cut down on excess time and just unnecessary frustration is write down what you are delegating. And more than just say, do this, do this, do this, show them what you have already done. Show them the process. Before you share an idea, share with them an I did. Say, hey, I already did social media management, and this is my process. This is the system I created. This is the checklist. These are the templates. These are examples. Here's a video of me walking through the steps. Here's some reference material. I already have a software that's really useful. And you going through those steps yourself, you leading yourself through the project, through the tasks involved, it's going to help you better understand what you're talking about. It's going to give you a little more empathy for the next person who's going to do it. and it's going to make you a much better guide as you are leading people uh, through these systems. So go slow. Again, make sure that you. I I came up with this line a bit spontaneously, but I love it, and I even inserted it into a team meeting today. But we want to wow our teams with our preparation more than a presentation. And sometimes us as talkers or leaders, we think that our gift, our understanding is that we're just going to explain what everyone else needs to do. And that's not the case. We've got to do stuff too. And so it's not a presentation that's going to wow people. It's when we give a short, concise, clear, thoughtful, effective presentation, but then we follow up with a ton of preparation. We say, hey, we've gone through the legwork. We have made sure that the system will be successful. And we're looking for people who are passionate about carrying on this track record of, consistency. And I think just recruiting great people on the onset is going to be a master key to unlock a lot of great team momentum. So then you level up and you've got people on your team. It's not just one off here and there, a few tasks here and there, a few hours here or there. Now you are building a team, and this team is like fully functioning. It's happening, and there's stuff happening that now you don't even know about. That's when you're going to get tempted to revert back to some of your solopreneur or your lone leader days, and you're going to try to do everything yourself, and just fire yourself from the CEO position, the chief everything officer, and become a chief empowering officer. Be an equiper, be someone who encourages and who comes alongside, and mentally you're graduating from just being a manager to also being hopefully more of a mentor, because you see leadership, you see something great in the others on your team, and you want to help them. You are bringing supervision to that team, meaning you're not just looking over their shoulder trying to spot mistakes, but supervision can also refer to the ability to see greatness in other people, or see potential purpose in the landscape of what you do, and calling it out and saying, let's go in that direction, and let's give this a try, and kind of helping people work through problem solving as you go. So at that point, you got to get your hands off. And I love a quote by Craig Rochelle, and he says, you can have growth or you can have control, but you can't have both. And at that point, you have to say, don't delegate all the details. Let your team, let the others who have some amount of experience and expertise in that specialty role. You're coming in, with a skill set, but as you've grown and as the team's grown, you've become more and more of a generalist. You got to let people be specialists and let them come up with the details. Let them make decisions that you didn't make. Let them make decisions that you didn't know about. And I think a lot of people like that idea, right? We say, oh yeah, that's the kind of team I want. I just want people that do stuff and I see the end result. But have you defined the end result? Have you been very clear on expectations? And then have you done the work of working on the team so that way you can get out of the way and just let the team work? Come on, that's good. When you and I commit, we're going to serve others, we're going to work on the team itself, then we can get out of the way and just let the team work. That's a value system that you have to have, I believe, from the onset, from the get-go. It's like an architect, like I mentioned before. Are you building blueprints? Are you creating blueprints where you already know that delegation is going to be a big part of your team thing? Because if you're just trying to like drop this on later on, it's going to be like you've already poured the concrete and you're going to say, oh no, we need to add in some more plumbing lines, or we need to add in some more electrical stuff. And that's how technical I am on that. But you have to be intentional and think about this stuff up front, and then actually figure out what would it look like to kind of embed this into the team that you're a part of and that you want to lead. So you may say, well, I'm not the main leader. I'm not driving yet. Or I'm not driving at all. What should I do? And I really would challenge you, lead yourself and be the kind of team player that whoever is driving can appreciate. And you're going to go so far. I promise you, you're going to do so much. And I just want to encourage you, stay patient and learn how to become more decisive. Don't hesitate, and definitely don't procrastinate. Learn how to initiate ideas, initiate contributions. It's okay if you weren't told to do that. Practice stepping up, practice kind of flexing that initiative muscle, because it's going to help you stand out, but it's also going to help you think like a leader, like an owner, someone who's going to own the opportunities that come their way. So here we are, we have this team dynamic, and I've been challenging you kind of grow in your thinking from task delegation to team delegation. Every time you level up, you're not handing off the last level. You're just adding on to it. So you have all of the usual suspects running around that level as obstacles or enemies against your progress and productivity. But now you have new challenges, new threats, new opportunities, new obstacles to deal with. And that is the case for today. As your responsibilities grow, as more people join what you're doing, I want you to be thinking proactively. How am I going to delegate with a team of teams, right? With multiple layers, multiple parts of this team thing. And it's fun when you can delegate. That's a great feeling. When you're finally there and you finally get that assistant, man, that's a happy day. Or maybe you finally get to pay a person to do a freelance project with you. Man, that's a cool feeling. Or you're so excited because now you have the financials to add on a part-time person or to grow your team. Those are all great, but I want to challenge you, think bigger, dream bigger, and really start preparing now. Because as your team goes up and to the right, whatever it is, your brand, ministry, movement, whatever, as it goes up into the right, you're not going to have this time. The time you have right now is for that time. Okay. There's a Jewish proverb that I like. It says, I'd rather be 10 years too early than 10 seconds too late. It's better to be 10 years too early than 10 seconds too late. And that's so true. You will only take on more responsibility, and Lord willing, you're only going to be growing in your leadership and your influence. And so you're not going to have all the time you have now. This is the time to answer those future questions. Right now, you can actually be processing and making discoveries, making decisions about the future that when you walk through it, it's like you've already gotten there. You've already kind of decoded all of those challenges, and you can just accelerate right through. And sometimes people, they're just kind of winging it as they go, and then they get bogged down and they don't have the same time because it's hard to turn off your team thing after it gets going. I mean, it's kind of like train on the tracks. So figure this stuff out now. I know maybe I'm speaking a little bit into your future right now. Maybe I'm kind of throwing the football a little deeper down the field, but hopefully this will encourage you and provoke you to run harder after what's possible and to figure this stuff out now. So that's why I want to challenge you. Don't delegate alone. If you are the only person who's delegating in your team, stop it. Like, I mean it. Stop it and dream a little bigger, because if you say you're the only one who can delegate because you're the only qualified person or the only tenure person or the only whatever person, you're not the center of the universe. You're not the center of your team, and your team has a identity of its own. Your team has a mission of its own. And right now, you're in an important and valuable season where y'all are parallel. You and the dream, right? You and the team thing. But there's probably going to be a season where there's going to be a change. And that's when you realize the value of stewardship, that whatever success you have, it's stewardship. And whatever challenges you have, you've got to do your best now. So that way, when you hand on or hand off that team thing, they're not going to be fighting the same opposition that you had to fight. You want to give whatever generation of leadership that comes after you breakthroughs and strategies that can help them advance even further. So don't delegate alone. And it really does start today. It's not later in the future when you have more people on the team. It's not even when people prove that they're trustworthy. You have to model this, empower this, expect this from day one. Because what you're really saying, here's what we think we're saying. We think we're saying, hey, if I let you delegate, you're going to replace my job. And that's not what we're saying. We're saying when you take initiative and when you take ownership of things around you, you're being a leader. And we are a league of leaders here. We are a team of leaders here. We want everyone to develop in their unique and needed leadership role. Otherwise, what you're saying is, hey, I'll make the calls. I'll take the hits. You can just ride on my coattails. And after a while, that can become dead weight. So don't put that into the culture for a second. Empower, encourage, equip, and keep people dreaming about the future. Help others be future focused like you're trying to be future focused as well. Let me know if this is helping anybody in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions about this, because I get it. This is easier said than done. And that's why we want to talk about it, dream about it, learn about it. So that way, when we get to these opportunities, we're not going to drag our feet, waste time. We're actually going to pedal to the metal, throttle forward. We're going to level up. We're going to crack some glass ceilings, so to speak, and just really lead the teams we've been entrusted well. So let me see what we're talking about here. Thank you. So don't delegate alone. This is the choice. Are you going to level up from just delegating tasks to actually delegating to your team. You're actually telling someone that is committed with you, hey, I'm not just going to give you a task, I'm actually going to give you an entire team. You're going to take this whole team and you're going to begin to lead and develop them and then deploy them into greatness. And what this allows us to do is take on more team territory. And we can explore more team territory this way. We can expand more team territory this way in the future frontier. We can innovate more agile. We can assess challenges, risks. We can be just faster overall. But when we give people the badge, so to speak, we have to also get behind them, support them, encourage them, tell them we believe in them, get and empower them, really give them authority for the responsibility that they have been given. You give somebody the badge, you got to give them the gun as well. So here's the question that we're figuring out together. How do we help other people on the team delegate as successfully as we do, if not better? And that is amazing. And you got to be okay and humble enough to say other people are going to be leading with this team. Other people are going to have influence. Other people are going to make calls. Other people are going to weigh in on really weighty matters. And you shouldn't be intimidated about that. You should be encouraged about that, because the load is great. But when many people come together, they make the load lighter. They carry the load of leadership. And that's what we need. We need teams and even communities of leaders that are going to carry the load of leading together. So again, challenging you, let others delegate. Don't just be the only delegator in your organization. You say, well, I just lead a bunch of teenagers. Figure out how those teenagers can test drive some leadership. Let them delegate in specific and hopefully successful ways. You have to do that upfront preparation so that way they can get experience with delegation. If we're not letting others delegate, then they're not being developed, and then we have no new leaders to deploy. And so that can have really sad downstream impact. And it's a sad situation. It's almost like carbon monoxide. You don't even realize how dangerous it is until much, much later on. So be very intentional that you're going to be investing in people, taking care of great leaders that are already in the organization or in your team thing, and figure out what is working. Why is this leader rocking it? And are there some, yes, there are parts that are their personality. Yes, there are going to be parts that are part of the way they're wired, and they're awesome people, but they can also be an example. They can be an example of good things or an example of what not to do in other instances. And so there's always something to learn. There's always a skill set. There's always a principle or a strategy. So we want to have this collaborative learning environment where we're not just leading together, but we're learning together as well. And so we're actually delegating entire teams to people. We're figuring out how to help them delegate as successfully as we do. Now, again, you got to pass the first level. Have you been developing? Do you just have an idea, or have you worked on it and created a proven system with it? Are you just kind of the Wizard of Oz guy behind the curtain, just kind of working vicariously through all these doers? Or are you really developing and deploying other leaders to think, take initiative, get involved. That's a marathon already. You have to have a lot of endurance, a lot of passion for the work at hand to even get to that point. But when you do, you almost have to unlearn some of those prior principles and figure out, okay, at the end of the day, it comes down to what I can do. And what I mean by that is, can I be on time? Can I be organized? Can I communicate effectively? Can I lead with humility and trust and transparency? Can I make a quick call when I'm called upon? Or can I call the right person who has more leadership expertise in that area than me? It's going to come down to how you handle other people being awesome in close proximity. If you get weirded out by that, if you can't handle that, you might have some challenges. But if you really want to lead with an extraordinary league, right, of competent, creative, caring people, then this is going to be a high value, a high priority that you pursue. So, do you trust your team to get things done even without your involvement? That's a lot of interior work, just trying to figure that out, figuring out what it would take to trust people to get things done without your involvement. Do you trust the people that your team would trust to get things done without their involvement? I mean, very easy. Just do the master key test. If you have a set of master keys, who would you give those master keys to? Who would you trust? Right? You say, well, they can't drive yet, so probably won't give them keys. I'll give it, to person 1, 2, 3. Okay, but would you feel comfortable with their judgment call? They're now holding the master keys. Can they also share the master keys or give the master keys to other people? You say, oh my goodness, that's a train wreck. That's not good. Don't do that. But that's just a metaphor. That's figurative. I just weirded out so many people. I can feel it. But that is a metaphor of not just delegating to people you trust, but letting them delegate to people they trust. And so you can't get out of your sphere of influence. You can't overreach into somebody else's team or somebody else's group or somebody else's area. And there are going to be a lot of challenges when you're trying to delegate from multiple direct reports to the same team members. I mean, that can be challenging. So you want to just grow in trust and say, okay, do we trust the people on this team? Do we trust them to have good choices and invest in good people? And that's not a preferential thing. I'm saying based on the report and the work at hand. I hope that you get my heart. I realize that that's a risk just saying anything online, but I'm saying you're going to have to trust people, and you give trust up front, and then they will decide for themselves whether they are trustworthy later on. And then you decide based on the evidence of their actions, the evidence of their leadership. So delegation is a test of trust. It is a test of character. It is going to become a system of decision making. It's a decision making system. That's why things can be talked out, but they have to be written out because it's a system of decisions. It's remembering decisions that have already been made. It's updating new decisions. It's factoring in multiple decisions from different people or different contexts. And ultimately, delegation will become a culture of people. Delegation is part of the culture. We trust one another. We involve one another. We share the load of leadership with one another. We all and each want to become strengths to each other and not burdens to each other. But there's so much work that's going to, be required. And so I would just say start small. Start with a small team of people and build alignment with a few people first. And then after you get alignment with a few people, then add in some autonomy, right? And let each of those people get a little bit of autonomy so they can keep going, they can keep growing, they can build out their teams. And then as you enlarge your influence or your range of impact, you're trying to find something of a sweet spot between each person's sense of autonomy to do the work that they are expected to do, but also alignment with the team, alignment across the board. And yes, there are systems and standard operating procedures and all kinds of coaching things we can do, and we can talk about that in a different setting. But it really comes down to trust. It comes down to a conversation. So let me ask you, are you willing to delegate in your team thing right now? Like right now, you say, "Well, I don't even have a team. I'm a solopreneur. I'm a dreamer. I'm just starting. I'm still a student somewhere." Are you learning how to turn a project into a process? Because that's a skill set. And then you'll build on that skill set. Are you learning how to communicate those processes the right way? And then you build on that. Are you learning how to give your team a clear, well-defined destination while leaving room for them to fill in their own details? Okay. And then you level up from there. Are you willing to delegate even the need to delegate entirely? Now, think about that. You're willing to delegate admin, or maybe you're willing to delegate bookkeeping, or you're willing to delegate customer support, or you're willing to delegate, whatever it is. But eventually, you want to surround yourself with an extraordinary league of leaders, a dream team, so to speak. Could you dream about delegating the need to delegate? Could you imagine where you have built trust and alignment and autonomy within your leaders, so that way they feel empowered to do work in a specific territory, so to speak? I mean, that sounds crazy, but it is possible. And I actually think there's some people out there that are doing that. We just have to have a different mindset, a people empowered mindset. I really want to challenge you right now. You're ready to start delegating. You say, "Well, I don't have the money. I don't have anybody in the wing. I don't know how to get started." Can you audit what it takes, the actions it takes to get the results you're going for right now? And as soon as you can define that, then you can begin to develop it and figure out how to deploy it. This is not about escaping work. This is about expanding what is possible for you when you include other people. It's about having a bigger heart, having a bigger vision, having a bigger reach. It's about serving others well. And one of the ways we can serve people is by leading well. It's not by, creating codependencies. It's about learning, how do I live and think empowered, so that way I can empower others. if you feel helpless, you're going to create helplessness in the culture. If you feel dependent, then you're going to create and expect dependency in the culture. But if you become empowered and you become a strength, not a burden in that context, then you're going to do that and it's going to be a part of the culture. So I want to give you three tactics. I'm having fun. I hope you are too. I appreciate your feedback, but I want to give you three tactics for healthy delegation, effective delegation, winning at delegation. And they kind of go together. It is an alliteration, so if you're not into that, please pardon me. But these are three ingredients to great delegation cultures. There's trusting, a lot of trusting that's going on throughout the people. And that is like first and most important, because if you can't prove that there is measurable relational trust in the organization, it's going to automatically stunt the growth. So figure out what would it take to, make stronger trust. And it doesn't have to be like, I trust you with all my secrets. I'm not saying that, but you have personal trust and you have professional trust. Personal trust says, I am who I say I am. I am like the person I'm projecting to be. Like I'm being sincere. I'm being genuine. I'm being authentic. You don't have to wonder if you have a conversation with me, if I'm going to go say something else or do something else. That's personal trust. But professional trust says, I will do what I say I will do. And that's the kind of trust we're talking about in the team. Can you trust the people that you're having a meeting with, that you're talking about the calendar with, that you're talking about the numbers with? Can you trust them to do what they say they will do? Every time we meet, we're figuring out, what did you do and what will you do, right? That's the meeting. Hey, let's all catch up. What did you do? What did you do? What did you do? Okay, what will you do? What will you do? What will you do? And we come together so that way we can stay in alignment, because we're going to give people autonomy to go be awesome. Another cycle, another round. So trusting is really important. Now we can supplement trusting, we can add to trusting with training and tracking. We're training people, but we're tracking progress. We're training people. And I really want to challenge you, if you are going to take delegation seriously, and I hope you do, I hope that you really level up with delegation in 2022. It is time to delegate. Don't put the work of delegation in on a someday, right? Someday's not a day of the week. Commit to begin this delegation process. Say, hey, I'm going to figure out what I do. I'm going to lead myself. I'm going to learn how to translate a project I'm currently doing into a process that I can externalize, that I can extend, that I can share with other people. And I get that you can automate, you can eliminate, but I'm talking about delegation right now. Commit that you're going to work on this life skill. The same way you commit to work out more, the same way you commit to wake up earlier, the same way you commit, you're being intentional, you're taking initiative, you're sharing influence, and do this in a way that is empathetic and empowering. So training, be honest. Could you train people to do what you're doing right now? Do you even want people to know how you do things? Or is that some secret that other people can't find out? I mean, I get that there's an element of art, that there's an element of intrigue or mystique. There's an element of awesomeness in the awesome sauce, but you're not going to really grow, and you're really not going to give the way you want to if you think kind of closed in, closed minded. Be generous with your time. Be generous with your successes. Be generous with your mission. Be generous with the work you do. So figure out, have I developed some sort of explanation, some sort of documentation, some sort of training for the individual tasks or for the whole team, and start working on that. And then tracking is, I think, what most people focus on. And there's softwares for that, and there's coaching for that, and there's, accountability is so important. But accountability is giving an account of someone's ability. Like, I think they're already awesome. That's why they're in the race. It's not because I'm kind of suspicious about them, but I'm going to just see what happens. And I'm going to be kind of low key happy if they mess it up, because then that's not what this is about. This is about, you are already excited about the work you're doing. You want to work with other people who are awesome. You trust them. You want them to be a winner. So you actually give them the best training that you can. And then you give them space. You give them space, and you're not going to be hovering over them on every single step. You're going to let them fill in some details. You're going to let them eventually delegate on their own. And then it will come down to the actual proof of their progress. And if you're not wired for tracking, if you're not really into numbers, you can get there. You can learn this. You can figure this out. But don't act like, you're the only person that can do what you do, or that, people will never match, what you've done in the past. It's not true. People can learn new skills. People can eclipse past success. People do want to get involved in great, empowering, healthy cultures. And so let's have the empathy for their work experience. Let's have an empowering approach, and let's go stay on mission. So those are the three things: trusting, training, and tracking. Now, I'll say the same thing in one more way, just try to hit it from a different angle. What are we talking about? Great delegation is about relationships, great team relationships, working relationships. It's about giving people the resources that they actually need. Do they actually have what they need to succeed? Does your team have what they need to succeed? And then beyond that, if we're actually delegating the privilege of delegating, does your team have what they need to lead? Resources, relationships, resources, and results. Have you defined the outcomes, not the steps, not just the process, not just the steps, not just the objectives, so to speak? Have you defined the outcome? Have you defined the results? Have you defined the end goal? Have you defined the destination? Have you defined what done is going to look like? Have you described what finished is going to feel like? Because if you don't even know what results you're looking for, then you weren't in a situation to delegate. And all I have is nothing but love and empathy, because we're all figuring this out together. We're all growing in this together. They're learning and growing as we go. So let's just give each other a little extra grace, and let's keep inspiring one another to lead well and delegate, instead of just requiring them, to try harder. Delegating is a leadership strategy. In fact, delegation is a leadership advantage. So if all you're doing is thinking about trading some of your days and dollars, then you're missing the opportunity to secure your future, secure the work that you do in the future. Because delegation is not just about saving time. Delegation is about really redeeming time and influencing the future, because this is going to be the training ground for leaders, great, amazing leaders. And I've heard this so many times myself. I've experienced this. You say, hey, I was young, I was immature, I was inexperienced, but that person believed in me. They gave me a shot. They gave me an opportunity. They gave me something that was a little out of my league, and I figured it out. And I got some coaching, I got some mentorship. I hit rock bottom once or twice, but I got back up and I worked through it and I worked on myself, and now here I am and I'm receiving this thing, or I have all this stuff, whatever you're bragging on, and you say, okay, now glory to God and thank you, so and so for being my mentor. And what it just happens all the time. It happens like that all the time. So we've got to be future focused when we delegate. Are you just trying, to jam and cram a task, on the weekend because you are just trying to cover your tracks because you didn't think ahead and you didn't, now you're stuck with all these extra shipping fees? Or are you going to be intentional and proactive and prepared about creating a culture that empowers other people, that trusts other people, that trains other people, and that tracks progress of their own development, as well as tracking the progress of the team's results? That's like, you see what I'm saying? Like, this is a big deal. And as you level up, you're going to put way more energy into developing the people than just getting all of those tasks done. So realize that just because you invest in someone doesn't mean that they're going to reciprocate, that they're going to stick around forever. That's okay. You're sowing into an invisible garden. You have to embrace the ebb and flow on your team. You'll delegate and then you'll change, you'll pivot. And that's okay. It's part of it. This is a skill set. It's not like a pact that you make with just one person or a few people. This is a skill set. So if you learn how to do it well, you can do it in a lot of different seasons of life. You can do it with a lot of different situations. And hopefully, you're just going to give people opportunities that they can take ownership with. You want to keep the relationship on top and hope that the results will follow. And as you kind of work together on these teams, just, be genuine and treat people like your friends, because hopefully they will become a friend for you in the future. They'll remember the way you treated them. They'll remember how, you esteemed them and wanted the best for them. And I don't know if, people will reciprocate, but your motive. So figure out, while we're delegating, are we developing people? While we're delegating, are we actually deploying great people to new opportunities or new challenges? If we're not deploying people, it becomes very disempowering. We're trying to just kind of keep them in this box. If we're not developing people, then that's very discouraging because they feel overwhelmed and they feel like it's all on them. So level up again and again, lead yourself, figure out what that feels like, so that way you can have great, positive working experiences with other people and make a difference with you. And then together, y'all will change the world. So that is that for today. If you appreciated this content, would you share this conversation with other people? I told you that I was going to mention Future Friends at the end. That is the community for this video podcast. It's an email community. And when you click the link at the bottom of this video, you'll get a free fail-proof planning guide. It is a PDF that you can download instantly, and it's going to help you get going so you can get better. It's going to just walk you through a proven step-by-step planning approach that's going to help you identify rhythms and routines, flesh it out into a weekly planning session that you can commit to again and again. It's not going to tell you what to plan, but it is going to give you tools to prepare for each week and what happens after that. So when you click the link, you'll get this PDF and it'll sign you up for the Future Friends. I really, really, really want you to get in Future Friends because there are so many projects I've been working on for a few weeks now, and I'm excited about launching them, sharing them, getting them out to you. Let me mention a few of them. We just finished the 94 live stream, number 94 live stream, and that is an accomplishment as it is. What we're going to do next is at the 100th live stream, which is just a little bit over a week away. We're going to be celebrating with a mastermind. I love group coaching. I want you to get in on this group coaching, and I'm going to be sending the info and the registration link in the next Future Friends email. So that's why I want you to click the link so you get access to the mastermind. It is just for the Future Friends. And so I want you to have access to that. Also, I'm going to be launching a book, my very first book for Prepare to Go There. It's written with the Future Friends in mind. It's called Field Guide for Your Future. And it's going to help you really develop a intentional life approach for work and productivity and your life's work, and help you kind of make sense of all this stuff we've been talking about for like over the past 20 weeks and condense it into a clear, concise manual that you can carry with you into your future. And so it's just going to give you the best practices and the proven principles to do what this podcast has been saying: lead yourself and stay focused on your future. There's a lot more that I go to and go into in the book, and I want you to get your hands on it and enjoy it. It'd be a great Christmas gift, and it would also help you start 2022 confidently. So those are two things you can look forward to. Both you'll get the info and incentives from the Future Friends email community. I hope that you take advantage of that. But regardless, these are just my way, a few of my ways that I am adding value and saying thank you so much. Y'all inspire me, and I keep showing up to learn along with you. So that is it for today. Stay awesome. Keep putting in the work. Remember, you're going places in your future. That's why I want to encourage you. Prepare to go there. See you tomorrow.